So ultimately, all issues of personality come from broken or unhealthy self esteem. It comes from a feeling of not being good enough. Someone in a power of authority, someone we have trusted, someone we relied on for decisions, feedback, opinions, and value system and reference, and someone we looked up to, admired, or respected, or feared, constantly told us, directly or indirectly, verbally or through actions, physically, emotionally, told us that somehow we are not good enough, that somehow we are not enough the way we are. That's what self esteem means. Not feeling good about yourself, not feeling that you are good enough. And ultimately, all trauma, all kinds of abuse, whether it's coming from childhood, whether it's coming from familial structure or personal relationships or anywhere, any kind of abuse, whether it's consistently happened throughout a long period of time that you have endured, or a couple of major events that have hit you hard enough to cause you an identity crisis, so traumatic that they've broken all kind of ideas and identities that you had about yourself, in a way that you question yourself because something has happened that violated you on so many levels. So that's trauma actually. And that trauma leads to broken, damaged self esteem. That is, someone ending up feeling like they are not good enough. Not feeling good enough is enough reason for people to go ahead and choose destructive behaviors, either that harm themselves or harm others. This is what happens in all toxic relationships as well. But let me talk about feeling good enough or having the sense of I'm good enough as a self-esteem barometer in healing. It's the number one thing that restores once you start healing, once you start licking the wounds and nicely protecting them and letting them heal and giving yourself space to process everything that has happened to you in general or very specific to narcissistic abuse, that the healing restores your self-esteem, the feeling of I am good enough. Not even the feeling, the sense of a level of acceptance that comes to you that says that you are good enough. And that is where you can measure that there is progress, there is healing happening. Because nothing external tells you about having a healthy self-esteem. It has to be an inside process, an inner process, rearrangement and reframing of our own self, value system, our preferences, priorities, filtering what's important and what's not, and what defines us, what doesn't, and all those things. And totally dismantling something that has destroyed who we are, and then reconstructing and rebuilding who we are solidly back with a firm foundation. The firm foundation is the sense of having an idea of I am good enough. Because the people pleasing and the toxic dynamic of overgiving and overtaking, using power and control, or being the victim, constantly using the victim and weak place as an excuse to not grow up and not heal themselves, and use victimization as a way to feed yourself off of sympathy and resources and advantages that are given to you by people in relationships or society. Even that is toxic. Even that comes from a fragile and broken self-esteem. They are the overpowering people, and then there are people who love to call themselves victims all the times. Not just they use the word, but rather the way they garner attention through sympathy and powerless weakness, martyrdom, sacrificial positions that they pretend to be. These both are damaging and both are coming from broken self-esteem. Because in both cases, they are seeking attention and affection and kindness or respect or whatever is from outside, because somewhere unconsciously they are telling themselves and they told themselves that they are not good enough. So something external has to come and fill that gap for them. So to know inherently that you are good enough is a very strong foundation from which healthy self-esteem, self-respect, right boundaries, morality, all other values can be very nicely built upon. It's possible and it's very, very much realistic, and that's the healthy way of being a human. Once you feel good enough, you are able to look through a lens of hope, optimism, with a sense of constructiveness to build something, to be nice, kind, compassion, to live a fulfilling, satisfying life, to look forward, to look onward. Anything that takes you away from right now and building something beautiful from present is actually taking you away from building something. Rather, you want to wallow in the past, or you want to victimize yourself even though there is no reason. You want to play play certain dynamics where you are constantly playing a game rather than just going forward and moving forward with the flow of life and embracing life with a sense of adventure and enthusiasm and optimism. So all these bright qualities comes from an inherent level of acceptance that, hey, I am good enough. It's not like somebody or something has to happen outside to give me a sense of ego stroke and confirm to me that I am good enough. Once that is taken away, your self-esteem is again in shambles. So you go looking for other approval, be it from humans or materials or degrees or labels or qualifications or money or status and whatever. You attach your self-esteem to things like that. Once they are taken away, you fall back into this pitiful pit, and then you want to do something or achieve something or reach a milestone and reach a goal, and then finally you feel like shit, because again somehow you are made to feel like you are not good enough, and then the goal moves to something else, the target moves to something else, or the object of your affection or attention or accomplishment has been taken out of your zone, and then what you are left with, shambled, broken self-esteem again. This is what happens if people seek validation and the sense of self-esteem, the inner worth that's supposed to come from within, and a level of acceptance and knowing of who we are, all sides of who we are, the good, bad and ugly, total awareness and acceptance and total knowing of all of it. That is where self-worth truly comes from, and it is all inner job. And that the feeling of good enough is what is an indicator of well-being, psychological and emotional well-being, and that drives people forward. There is beautiful energy of positivity and optimism and hope and energy of motivation of moving forward and building that comes with it. And that is why all these abusive relationships, be it parents or who do it, or partners who do it, or authoritative people at work or in your neighborhood or any systems that do it, they make sure that you do not feel good enough, so that you seek external validation, constantly trying to fill the gap, fill the pit with things that are temporary, superficial, immaterial actually, that has no contribution whatsoever to your self-esteem, because again self-esteem has to do with inner business, and what we are told to look at to fill the gap of self-esteem is through objects and materials that come from outside. You will never be able to fulfill what you are trying to do with your self-esteem by doing things externally, by filling yourself with stuff of the external world. You are bound to fail. You are like this hamster running on the wheel, not knowing where you are going. You think you are going somewhere, but it's just a loop that keeps repeating. You just don't know it until you strongly pay attention and seek inner healing rather than external validation, and filling yourself with objects and materials and things and status and labels and all those things. Good enough. To be able to come with the inner sense of, yes, I am good enough. That's what helps change the world. Because anyone who feels and who accepts and acknowledges that they are good enough never feels the need to overpower somebody, harm themselves or harm others. It's the inherent beauty of that feeling, that acceptance, that good enough thing brings with you. Everybody can actually live in accomplishment and peace, joy, without having to feel this inner envy, jealous and anger and bitterness and trying to destroy others. All of this comes from redirecting the attention outwards when you have a broken self-esteem inside. Direct it inwards, work on it, fix it, and see how things change within your life and see how you see the world as well. But that's the crucial aspect of healing, to build self-esteem enough where you can in your heart say that I am good enough. I don't have to run after something or somebody or a label or a status or a goalpost or a target or a milestone or a material goal, something that can keep changing. There's nothing wrong with goals, but that will keep changing actually. That's the thing. That's never a destination. Don't confuse it with the destination. You do not arrive there with a proper self-esteem because you are externalizing it. So don't think that is gonna fix this. And it's primary to look at it for what it is. Redirect the attention inward. That's how things will begin to change.